Papers. Now, immigration check.
I'm a police lieutenant. Phoenix PD. My badge is in my truck.
Sure you are. Everyone's got a story. Show me documentation proving citizenship.
My name is Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, badge 2847. Call my precinct.
We'll verify that down.
The Shell station on McDowell Road was packed when it happened. Tuesday morning, 9:47 a.m., the kind of desert heat that softens asphalt and turns steering wheels into branding irons. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes had stopped for gas on his way home from an overnight shift. He was off duty. Civilian clothes, basketball shorts, a Phoenix Suns t-shirt, sunglasses shielding his eyes from the glare that he had just finished pumping when 3 federal agents approached from a white government SUV he hadn't noticed pull in. Their body cameras were already recording. What they captured would later become known as the most expensive gas stop in Arizona history. Agent Todd Brennan led the approach. Agents Valdez and Kim flanked wide, tactical spacing, deliberate movement. Not casual, not curious. Hayes noticed immediately. 23 years on the force had trained his instincts. The hands hovering near weapons. The positioning. The look that said a decision had already been made. Ice patches were visible on their vests. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Brennan spoke first. Afternoon. ICE. We're conducting a sweep of this area. We need to see identification and proof of legal status. The tone was flat, bureaucratic, rehearsed. Hayes removed his sunglasses slowly and kept his hands visible. I'm a police officer, he said calmly. Phoenix PD, Lieutenant Marcus Hayes. My badge and ID are in my truck. He gestured toward his F-150 behind him. Everyone says something, Brennan replied, unmoved. Do you have documentation on you right now? The disbelief was clear. Hayes felt the familiar burn rise in his chest, the anger of being treated like this in his own city. My wallet is in my back pocket. My badge is in my vehicle. I've served this department for 23 years. You can call my precinct and verify. We'll verify once we establish your identity and status, Brennan said coldly. Right now, you're not going anywhere. Valdez shifted to Hayes' right. Kim moved to his left. Containment. A triangle formation, used when officers believe someone may flee or resist. Hayes wasn't running, he was standing at a gas pump in broad daylight. Would you like me to reach for my wallet? Hayes asked carefully. No sudden movements, Brennan ordered, his hand now firmly on his weapon. Slowly, painfully slowly, Hayes removed his wallet and presented his Arizona driver's license, valid. Current. Legal. Brennan barely glanced at it. This doesn't establish citizenship, he said. I need a passport, birth certificate, or naturalization documents. The words hit hard. Hayes had been born in Tucson. His father had been born in Tucson. His grandfather had been born in New Mexico before it was even a state. My badge is 15 feet away, Hayes said. Let me show you. You're not going anywhere, Brennan replied, and pocketed Hayes' license. Technically theft, later described as securing evidence. We're detaining you for processing. Processing, Hayes repeated. On what grounds? What reasonable suspicion do you have that I'm here illegally, other than the color of my skin? The air changed. People nearby stopped pumping gas. Phones came out. Witnesses appeared. Valdez spoke up. We have intelligence about illegal employment in this area. Hayes shook his head. So you saw a black man buying gas, and that's your intelligence? Brennan's jaw tightened. Turn around. Hands behind your back. Call my precinct, Hayes said firmly. Phoenix PD, Central Precinct. Ask for Captain Williams. Turn around, Brennan repeated, reaching for cuffs. That's when Hayes made his decision. He wasn't going to disappear quietly into the federal system. He planted his feet. I am not resisting. I am not fleeing. I am invoking my Fourth Amendment rights. You have no reasonable suspicion, no probable cause. And if you put hands on me without cause, you are committing assault on a peace officer. Clear, loud, deliberate. For the cameras, for the witnesses, for the record. Brennan hesitated. This wasn't how these stops usually went. Then he made the wrong decision. Subject is resisting detention. Secure him. They moved together. Valdez and Kim grabbed his arms. Brennan applied the cuffs. Hayes didn't fight, but he didn't assist either. Dead weight. I am not resisting, he said as they forced his hands behind his back. I am being unlawfully detained. My name is Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, Phoenix Police Department, badge number 2847. I am a United States citizen. The cuffs were tight enough to cut circulation. They walked him past staring customers, past phones recording everything. Someone could be heard saying, They're arresting some guy. He says he's a cop. My truck, Hayes said, turning his head. My weapon is secured inside. We'll handle it, Brennan replied, meaning nothing. They placed him in the back of the SUV. Caged. Handcuffed. Silent except for the hum of the engine and the blinking red camera lights. Then Brennan made a call. Yeah, we've got a subject detained for verification. Claims Phoenix PD. No badge visible. He ended the call and pulled away. That moment, captured from 6 different cameras, would later cost the federal government $13.9 million. All because a man stopped for gas. Interview 2. They pulled away from the gas station, leaving Hayes' pickup sitting at the pump, and headed toward the IC field office. From the back seat, Hayes looked straight toward the cameras he knew were rolling. Approximately 10 a.m., Tuesday morning, he said calmly. I am being detained by IC agents Brennan Valdez and Kim without reasonable suspicion or probable cause. My name is Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, Phoenix Police Department. I was born in Tucson, Arizona. I am a United States citizen. This detention violates my Fourth Amendment rights. Everything being done here is on record, and these agents will be held accountable. The drive lasted 28 minutes. After finishing his statement, Hayes said nothing more. He focused on slow breaths, keeping his temper in check, mentally stepping through what would come next. Processing. Verification. Eventually they'd realize they'd made a mistake. The only unknown was how long it would take, and how much harm would be done before they admitted it. At the IC field office, they entered through a secured garage. Hayes was escorted inside still in handcuffs, still treated like a suspect. The intake area buzzed with activity. Agents walking briskly, detainees waiting, paperwork moving with the dull efficiency of bureaucracy. They placed him in a holding room, a 10 by 10 concrete box with a metal bench bolted to the wall. Someone will be with you shortly, Brennan said as he removed the cuffs. Any chance you want to let me call my precinct? Hayes asked, rubbing the red marks around his wrists. We'll verify your identity through proper channels, Brennan replied. Hayes knew what that meant. Delay. Procedure. Covering themselves before admitting fault. The door shut. Hayes sat alone on the bench inside a federal holding cell. A police lieutenant with over 20 years on the job, now treated like someone who'd just crossed the border illegally. He'd been in rooms like this countless times, but always on the other side of the table. He never imagined he'd be sitting here himself. 1 hour passed. Then 2. He could hear movement beyond the walls. Phones ringing, voices exchanging updates, the system grinding through another routine day. No one came for him. No explanations. Only waiting, and the growing certainty that somewhere, someone was about to realize how badly this had gone wrong. At 12:43 p.m., more than 3 hours after the gas station stop, the door finally opened. A supervisor stepped in, rank visible on his uniform. Brennan stood behind him, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. Mr. Hayes, the supervisor said carefully. I'm Agent Supervisor Martinez. There's been a situation. We've verified your identity. You mean you finally called Phoenix PD and learned I'm exactly who I told you I was? Hayes replied evenly. Lieutenant Marcus Hayes, 23 years on the force. Born in Tucson. Natural-born citizen. And you held me for 3 hours because I was pumping gas. Martinez shifted uncomfortably. We followed verification procedures. You're free to go. We'll arrange transportation back to your vehicle. Procedure. Hayes repeated. Your procedure is detaining American citizens without cause. Ignoring someone when they tell you they're law enforcement. Leaving their vehicle unattended at a gas station for 3 hours. No one answered. I want copies of every body camera recording, Hayes continued. I want the names and badge numbers of all agents involved. I want a formal incident report. And I want to know exactly what reasonable suspicion justified stopping me, other than being brown at a gas station. You'll receive all appropriate documentation, Martinez said, which Hayes recognized as bureaucratic shorthand for the bare minimum. Again, we apologize for any inconvenience. Inconvenience, Hayes repeated quietly. You handcuffed a police lieutenant and detained him for 3 hours without cause. That's not inconvenience. That's federal civil rights territory, and you know it. They drove him back to the Shell station in silence. His truck was still there, miraculously untouched, parked exactly where he'd left it. He checked the console. Badge secure. Weapon untouched. Nothing disturbed. He stood in the lot for a moment, breathing, thinking, deciding. Then he got in his truck and drove straight to Phoenix Police Headquarters. Still wearing basketball shorts and his son's t-shirt, he walked directly into Captain Williams's office. "Marcus, what the hell?" Williams began, then stopped when he saw his face. "What happened?" Hayes told him everything. The stop. The detention. 3 hours in a federal holding cell. Williams listened as concern turned into fury. "They detained you for what?" "For being brown," Hayes said. "That's it. No suspicion. No cause. Just 3 IC agents who saw a black man and demanded papers." Williams grabbed his phone. "I'm calling the chief. And you're calling a lawyer. This is beyond internal review. This is a federal civil rights lawsuit." The attorney Hayes hired was Amanda Torres, a civil rights litigator known for taking on federal agencies. She listened carefully, filed FOIA requests for the body camera footage, and within 8 weeks had assembled a case strong enough to make the Department of Homeland Security's legal team uneasy. The footage told the whole story, and it was devastating. 3 separate camera angles captured everything. Hayes being stopped without cause, questioned without suspicion, placed in handcuffs, and transported despite clearly identifying himself. The audio recorded his calm but repeated statements. That he was a U.S. citizen, a Phoenix police lieutenant, his badge number, and his request that they simply verify his identity with his department. Each request was ignored. Instead, agents chose to run him through their system first. The lawsuit was filed under the name Lieutenant Marcus Hayes versus the United States of America, Todd Brennan, Luis Valdez, and Jennifer Kim. The complaint detailed unlawful detention, false imprisonment, violations of Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable seizure, racial profiling, deprivation of civil rights under color of law, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The evidence package was overwhelming, hundreds of pages. Body camera footage, witness statements from people at the gas station, phone location records confirming Hayes never left the area, his full service history with Phoenix PD, his birth certificate proving citizenship. It wasn't a weak case. It was airtight. Within 4 months, the government offered a settlement, $75,000. Torres replied with a single word. No. They returned with $300,000. Still insulting. Your agents detained a police lieutenant for 3 hours because he was brown, Torres told the government attorney. They ignored his identification, his badge number, and his constitutional rights. We're taking this to trial, and a jury is going to hear every second of that detention. The trial began 19 months after the gas station stop. Every day, the downtown Phoenix courtroom was packed. Off-duty officers sat in uniform in silent support. Civil rights groups filled the gallery. Media outlets from across the country covered what had become a national symbol of overreach and racial profiling. On the second day, the body camera footage was played, 3 synchronized angles. The jury watched Hayes being approached, questioned, detained. They listened as he identified himself clearly and repeatedly. They watched federal agents ignore him and place him in handcuffs anyway. When the video ended, several jurors looked visibly upset. One woman slowly shook her head, her face tight with anger. Hayes testified for 9 hours spread across 4 days. He walked the jury through his career, his commendations, his years of service, his dedication to the job. He described the humiliation of being detained at a gas station he'd visited hundreds of times in his own city, wearing his own team's jersey. He explained the fear that crept in. Would they believe him? Would this escalate? Would he become another name, another hashtag? I've been a cop for 23 years, he told the jury. I've conducted thousands of stops. I know what reasonable suspicion looks like. I know what probable cause requires. Those agents had neither. They saw a brown man at a gas station, and that was enough. Everything else I said didn't matter, because they had already decided I didn't belong. The defense argued the agents acted reasonably based on intelligence about illegal employment in the area. Torres dismantled that claim during cross-examination. Agent Brennan, she asked, what specific intelligence did you have about illegal employment at that Shell station? We had general intelligence about the area. The area, she repeated. So not that station. Correct. And what about Lieutenant Hayes's behavior suggested illegal employment? He matched a general demographic profile. Demographic profile? Torres paused. You mean he was brown? That's not what I said. But it's exactly what you meant, she replied. Because nothing about his clothing, his vehicle, or his behavior suggested illegal activity. He was pumping gas. So tell the jury, what made you target him? Silence. The jury watched Brennan search for an answer that wouldn't sound like racial profiling and fail. Deliberations lasted 8 days. When the jury returned, the courtroom went completely still. The verdict was read: liable on all counts. The damages phase took another 12 days. Jurors heard testimony about Hayes's nightmares, his hypervigilance, his loss of trust in federal law enforcement. His captain described changes in his performance and relationships. A psychologist explained the trauma experienced when a law enforcement officer becomes a victim of the very system he serves. When damages were announced, the room fell silent. $9.4 million in compensatory damages, $4.5 million in punitive damages. Total, $13.9 million. Agents Brennan, Valdez, and Kim were reassigned to desk duty. The field supervisor who delayed verification was demoted. The Department of Homeland Security released carefully worded statements referencing ongoing reviews and policy clarification, avoiding any admission of systemic failure. Training materials were quietly updated under routine revisions, nothing acknowledging this case directly. Hayes remained with Phoenix PD for 3 more years before retiring early. He used part of the settlement to create a legal defense organization for individuals detained by immigration enforcement, funding free attorneys and documentation assistance for people with no one else to call. The gas station stop became a case study taught in police academies and law schools. A warning about how assumptions replace evidence, how profiling destroys lives, and how even a badge doesn't protect you when bias decides you don't belong. If you believe citizenship shouldn't have to be proven at a gas pump, if you believe reasonable suspicion still matters, hit that subscribe button, because we're bringing more stories that show why cameras matter, why documentation saves lives, and why sometimes justice only arrives when a jury finally says, enough. Because in a country where a police lieutenant can be detained for being brown while buying gas, every one of us is only one stop away from having to prove we belong in our own home.